Welcome to another video presentation. And today I want to talk about transforming suffering. What I mean by that is undoing the belief in separation, which is part of the Great Awakening series. Well, I'm off for that instead of the Great Reset. I think I'm more for the Great Awakening rather than the Great Reset. And I've shown you in previous videos my own map of the Great Awakening, what I mean by that. I'm going to load up a separate video where I go into more detail, so keep an eye out for that. But today I want to talk about the recovering section, recovering love, and the transforming of our suffering, which is this sense of separation or fragmentation. So let's get into it. So recovering from what? Well, what I mean by that is really what we're suffering from is a dissociation identity disorder. I mean by that we are associating ourselves with an unrelated, vulnerable, and mostly fearful fragment, which is randomly appearing in reality. It's a disorder because we've forgotten who we are. And another look at suffering. Suffering propels us really to go deeper. There's a tremendous meaning to suffering because it is the conduit to insights and evolution. So it's not all bad. That's the first good news. And so we're moving from separation to inner peace to love. So I'll talk about it later. So by recovering love, I mean it's a deep dive. It's a deep dive into shining the light of awareness on our collective as well as individual suffering, which is a sense of separation. So I'm trying to undo the belief, because it's all based on beliefs, that we are unrelated, vulnerable, and fearful fragments, which are randomly appearing in what we call reality. So I'm inquiring into what is our shared reality and how can we move beyond fear? How can we stop resisting what arises at this moment? And how can we stop seeking what is not here? And who is the seeker? What is in the way of peace and happiness? What is the nature of happiness? What is it actually? And what do we know of the body? The role of mindfulness and pausing, as well as contemplations, strategies, and solutions, and how to realize what we really are, and practicing mindfulness. So by self-inquiry, I mean we are learning to recognize our shadow aspects. And here I just want to focus on the two, what I call collective shadow aspects, which I call resisting and seeking. The sense of separation from myself, the sense of separation from others, and, if you will, a separation from source. So through the practice of mindfulness and regular pausing before we respond to any life situation, that is the way how we can transform our suffering. It's all fear-based, it's not love-based, it's the opposite. But really, what is all-encompassing, which is love, the basic of creation, can have no opposite. So the source of suffering is constantly seeing and reinforcing a sense of me or I, the separate identity, the ego self, and the other or others. That keeps this, a source of separation alive all the time. It's conditioned and constant reinforcement of the belief that I'm a fragmented sense of self appearing randomly in this reality. And it's basically, it's not recognizing what is our shared reality, which is consciousness or awareness in itself, its existence, its being. We are all aware, and that is our shared reality. Obviously not the body. That is not our shared reality, but pure consciousness, awareness, presence, being. All of the 8 billion people on this planet, if you ask them, are you aware? Are you present? They all would answer yes, of course, because that is their reality, and this is what we all have in common. So, but because we feel and constantly recognize or don't recognize our shared reality, and we feel fragmented and separated, we are on a constant search for peace and happiness. But we direct our search outward, externally. We think and believe that we can achieve a sense of peace and happiness through objects and relationships, things out there in the world, which then in turn make us happy. But that's an illusion. And if you really go deep within yourself and ask that question, then you will find out the truth about it. So the dynamic of our fear, and hence our suffering, is the constant dynamic of resisting or not wanting what is present, what is here right now, what is arising in this moment. The way it arises, it's already here, but deep down we resist it, we don't want it, whatever it is. And at the same time, we are seeking something that is not here. So we want something that is not present. So see the dynamic here, resisting and seeking, resisting and seeking. It comes back to a feeling of lack and inadequacy. Deep-seated sense of lack, that there's something missing to fulfill us, to make us happy. And a sense of inadequacy. We're not good enough. And that's constantly reinforced through our educational system, through media, through politics, everything. You are not good enough. You need to strive to improve yourself. You need to complete yourself and improve yourself. That's the message we're constantly hearing. And of course, that keeps a sense of separation and fragmentation alive. But that keeps us from really finding out who we truly are and what we truly are. Because we are constantly resisting and seeking, that is the source of our suffering. If we realize that, our whole life will change. So the constant need and the search and the feeling that we need to improve ourselves, that we can find our peace and happiness in relationships, that they fulfill us, in things, in the status, in activities. That's the search in the wrong places. That will never make us feeling complete or feeling whole and healed. So when the seeking and resisting that characterizes the apparent separate self comes to an end, our essential nature of peace and happiness shines as it truly is. So it's already there. If we stop the seeking, it reveals itself. That's our essence. We don't realize it because we constantly focus on the external and in the world and find our sense of peace and happiness in the world. So self-knowing is really about mastering our creative potential. It's what we're born with, our creative potential. We are co-creators of our reality. So how can you find inner peace? In a word, non-resistance. Stop seeking. Stopping to resist what arises and then at this present moment, because it arises and it wants to arise, no matter what it arises as, it is what is. And then through the practice of mindfulness, paying attention to what arises without resistance, without judging it, and pausing for a moment, pausing means I don't need to react at the moment to what arises here and now. I come to realize what is, and it just is. It's here right now. That doesn't mean I don't need to get active or do something or change something. But if I want to inquire into our true, or into my true essence and find meaning and inner peace, the practice of mindfulness and pausing and non-resistance is essential. That's what I'm saying here. And then learning to respond, not react, to respond from moment to moment, knowing my own being, knowing my own essence, which is being or aware presence. And out of that, I can start living as a joyful co-creator, co-creating or creating or forming my reality. So, and then how to embody my aware presence, which leads to self-awareness, being aware, awareness, being aware of itself in the form of my, well, not my, it's not me, it's awareness being aware, which expresses itself through this body-mind at the moment, this eternal moment. So what is the nature of happiness? It's peace. Inner peace is another word for happiness, if you want. And it is beyond sensing and feeling. It's beyond the body, because all we know of the body is sensing and feeling. Sensations and feeling arising in the present moment, which is known by awareness. This is the body. That's all we know of the body. A little bit perception, because if I look down, I can see my arm. But all we know of the body is a cluster of sensations and feelings. So becoming aware of what we already are, which is this essential inner peace, this aware presence, helps me or helps us to recover from the dissociation identity disorder. And that's the major source of suffering of our society. We all, to a degree, suffer from this dissociation identity disorder. I said before, here's a quote from A Course in Miracles. It says, the opposite of love is fear. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So reality or truth, or another word for inner peace and happiness, you could call love. Not that emotional quality you feel between two people, but something all-encompassing. Individuality, or sense of individuality, flourishes even by the knowing of one's being. And it's the result in the unique expression of one's mind and body when it is liberated from the tyranny of separation and materialism. So what that means is we don't become dull and not engaged. It's when we find a sense of inner peace, it's not just all love and fluff. No, we become alive. That's that meaning. So love is to feel one's own being, and also as the being of another. In other words, love is the recognition that the being, or the isness, or the existence from which everything derives its apparent independent existence, it's the same unqualified, unlimited being we derive our apparently independent existence. So that's what I mean when I said before, being or awareness or presence, that is our shared reality. That is our common ground. Here, we derive the meaning of oneness. One being, there's one existence, there's one being, not many beings, not many existences. There's existence. So there are 3 steps to self-realization and to transform our suffering. First, we need to know who we are not. What I mean by that, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my feelings, I'm not my sensations, I'm not my body. It appears to be in this present moment. But this is essentially what I'm not. And that leads me to knowing who I am. Love, aware presence, knowing being, existing, existence. This is what I am. I am what I am. And then learning to respond from moment to moment, knowing my own being, this aware presence. In my coaching program, I have included a guided meditation or contemplation for deepening this whole process, where I guide you through very specific contemplative questions to get a sense for what it really means to dive into this aware presence. So feel free to go on my website, which I'll show you in a moment again, and have a look. So, in a nutshell, be here now, be the presence, which you are already. Practice mindfulness and self-inquiry. Become aware of your shadow aspects, the triggers that trigger you into reactions and wanting to find your peace in the world. My go-to tool are the Gene Keys or Gene Keys profile to go even deeper, to reveal some of my or people's individual shadow aspects. We can go even more deeper. The practice of contemplation and meditation, resting in being knowingly, and constantly reinforcing that meaning of the 3 steps of self-realization or transforming suffering, knowing who I am not, knowing who I am, and responding from moment to moment, knowing who I am. So in my next video, I'll talk about moving from forgetfulness to waking up to beauty. So look forward to connecting with you then. So here's my website again. For more information, feel free to connect. Go on my website, rolfkarnert.com. Thank you for listening, and be now here. Thank you.